For over 40 years, one company hasn't just been selling cars in India. It's pretty much defined what it means to own one. Its name is basically synonymous with mobility for millions. This is the incredible story of Maruti Suzuki and how it literally put an entire nation on wheels.
I mean, that's a bold claim, right? But here's the thing, it's true. This isn't just a business story. It's a story about a massive national transformation. It's about how one small, really unassuming car kickstarted an entire country's automotive revolution.
And it all started right here, December 14th, 1983. That's Prime Minister Indira Gandhi handing over the keys to the very first Maruti 800. Now, you gotta understand, this wasn't just a car launch. For a nation that was used to these super long waiting lists for clunky, outdated cars, this moment, well, it felt like a cultural earthquake.
So how do we even get to that moment? The story of the Maruti 800 is, believe it or not, surprisingly personal. It actually began as a prime minister's mission to fulfill her late son's dream of creating an Indian people's car. Yeah, a project driven by emotion that would go on to reshape an entire economy.
To really get it, you have to picture what the Indian car market was like before 1983. It was like a time capsule. You basically had two choices, the Hindustan Ambassador or the Premier Padmini. Both were big, clunky, and honestly, not very reliable. Then, bam, the Maruti 800 shows up, and it's like a spaceship from the future. It brought modern Japanese tech, it was reliable, super user-friendly, and just brilliantly fuel-efficient. All of a sudden, a car wasn't some luxury for the super rich, it became a right to mobility for the middle class.
And this number right here, this says it all. The launch price, just 47,500 rupees. That was an absolutely astonishingly affordable price tag. It made the dream of owning a car a real, tangible thing for millions of Indian families. Get this, people were willing to pay double this on the black market just to jump the line. And the takeoff was, well, it was immediate and explosive. The company was formed in '81, they signed the deal with Suzuki in '82, and the first car rolled out in '83. But just look at that last number. Within 3 years, they hadn't just sold 150,000 cars, they had doubled the size of the entire Indian car market, doubled it.
So, that early success? It wasn't a fluke. It was all sustained by this brilliant strategy that became the engine of their dominance for the next 4 decades. So let's break down the playbook.
It all came down to this simple phrase, which they brought over from their Japanese partners at Suzuki. One component, 1 gram, 1 yen. Think of it as a mantra for extreme efficiency. Every single part of the car was looked at under a microscope to reduce its weight by at least a gram and its cost by at least a yen. This obsession with efficiency, that was the secret sauce to their affordability.
And this philosophy created a value proposition that was basically impossible for the Indian consumer to ignore. It was affordable to buy and was affordable to run. It gave you the best mileage, maintenance was cheap because parts were everywhere, it held its value better than any other car on the market, and maybe most importantly, it was reliable. It just worked. And that right there built this incredible foundation of trust.
And here's the real clincher. Maruti built a service network that was just unparalleled. With over 3,200 service stations all over the country, it didn't matter if you were in a huge city or some remote town, help was always nearby. This wasn't just a service network. It was a promise of security, a massive competitive advantage that no one else could easily copy.
But look, selling a great product isn't always enough, right? Maruti's real genius was in its marketing. They didn't just sell cars, they sold an idea, an aspiration, and they wove it right into the fabric of Indian culture.
I mean, every Indian knows this question. Kitna deti hai? It's the ultimate question about value, about mileage. Instead of trying to fight this national obsession, Maruti just embraced it. They leaned right into it, making fuel efficiency the hero of their story. They were directly answering the single most important question on every single buyer's mind.
And check out this famous ad campaign. It had this kid complaining that his dad's Maruti is so efficient, the gas tank never gets empty. This wasn't just an ad, it became a national catchphrase. It was brilliant. It connected the car's main benefit, mileage, with family and a great sense of humor.
It was through campaigns like these that Maruti built this really deep, emotional bond with its customers. The brand started to feel like it was part of the family. It felt like it understood their lives, their dreams, And that created a kind of loyalty that went way beyond just the car itself.
Okay, but 40 years of dominance, that doesn't guarantee the future. The Indian market is changing, and it's changing fast. Maruti Suzuki is now facing some of its biggest challenges ever. So, how is the brand adapting?
For years, the brand had one huge weakness: safety. That same obsession with cost-cutting that made their cars so affordable also led to this perception that they were, well, tin cans, unsafe in a crash. As Indian buyers became more and more safety conscious, this turned into a massive liability.
And this slide just perfectly illustrates the problem. The Suzuki Swift sold in Europe. It got a respectable 3-star safety rating. The exact same model, made for India, got just 1 star. And the difference? Cost-saving materials and a different structural design. This kind of thing really fueled that negative perception and became a rallying cry for all their competitors.
But then came a breakthrough. Maruti Suzuki finally earned its first ever 5-star safety rating. And crucially, it wasn't for some high-end expensive model. It was for the mass-market Zir. By making key safety features standard, the company sent a crystal-clear signal that, hey, safety is now a top priority. This was a major, major pivot.
And this data shows you exactly why that pivot was so smart. Just look at the shift in what people care about. Nearly 70% of buyers now rank safety as their #1 concern, and more than half are willing to pay more for it. So Maruti isn't just trying to improve its image, it's following where the customer is going.
The other huge challenge is the whole transition to electric. While a lot of competitors are diving in headfirst, Maruti is being pretty cautious. They see some major hurdles in India: the high cost of EVs, the serious lack of charging infrastructure, especially for the 60% of people without private parking, and just the big challenge of convincing their super value-conscious customers to make that leap.
Which brings us to this final and, I think, crucial question. For 40 decades, Maruti brilliantly gave India what it needed: affordable, reliable, basic mobility. But today's India is different. It's a market that's driven by aspiration, by technology, and by a growing demand for safety. The real challenge for this iconic brand is to prove that it can evolve from a company that provides needs to a company that sells wants. The next chapter of their story is really just beginning.